So what we're interested in, Dean, if just imagine all those years ago when we were a 13, 14-year-old youngster, and we're interested in drawing, we're good at drawing, we've got a passion for drawing, we've got a passion for perhaps film. How do you get from that point, sitting in that classroom, to where you are now?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to comprehend when you're that age, and I think for me as well. I think you have to understand and know that there's a world out there, and I think I think even now it's a bit easier, not easier, but I think it's like there's a lot more resources out there to approach. So I think for me, it's just I went to art school. I got into an art college in Toronto, and at that time there wasn't a lot of art colleges, but that was a pretty good one that I went to. So I kind of got in that way, and just I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I could draw, and I came from architecture. My dad was an architect and stuff, so I kind of knew what was out there. As far as I thought architecture, I could do that probably, but I didn't really want to. so I kind of just thought, I went into art school and just explored when I was in there. I thought, well, I don't know, maybe industrial design. Illustration, that's interesting. Maybe I'll do that. That's like, maybe I'll do, I thought at that time doing posters, I had no idea, but I think it's just using, good teachers like yourself, and just getting people to kind of like guide you, look at a portfolio, and kind of like help people get into colleges if that's what they want to do, if they want to do a post-secondary. And just kind of build a portfolio that can gear to get in there. And once you're in there, then you meet cool people and you learn from them. I mean, that's kind of, for me, it was like, I didn't know, but when you're in there, you meet really passionate people and like yourself, and then you kind of just got, it really helps you get, understand what you need to do. Like, it kind of, when you meet people who are very, very passionate about what they're doing, I think you suddenly get better yourself, because you want to be good too. So I think it's just kind of getting in that environment, like getting with a bunch of people who think like you, and I think it just helps you get better.
Sure. So what do you think is the thing that a young person needs the most if they're thinking of going into a career in the creative industry, perhaps into illustration or work with film?
A good portfolio. I think just like not a bunch of stuff, but some really good pieces that you've worked hard at, maybe narrow down, get rid of the stuff that isn't so good, and just get like 15 good pieces, or whether they're film or video, whatever it is, just something, or film's harder to make a body of work, but if it's illustration or art or something like that, it's just get some really good pieces and have someone else look at your work. And because you might be something you think is great, but it's actually not. So I think it's sometimes just kind of like, no, don't put that in. Like, just get someone with an eye, like get one of your teachers or someone who knows art, just to kind of review it and kind of go, just get rid of the bad stuff, and just put a couple of really great pieces in there, and try and, show that around, especially if you're going to colleges, or you're looking, especially if you're going to colleges from high school. I think it's just get someone to review your work, and maybe actually you might have to do a lot more. You might have to look at a lot of stuff to get better. You might have to look at people that you admire and see how they work, and try and even copy them. You just copy how they work to understand how you get there. It's like, just look at the good stuff and try and understand what needs to be done. Look at tutorials. There's tons of stuff out there right now to look at. That's what I would do.
That's really to me as a teacher, that's really interesting, because one of the things that young people like to do is they know what they like.
Yeah.
And they'll stick to that. And presumably it's quite valuable to push yourself and to take risks and actually almost to go out of your comfort zone and to look at artists or skills that maybe you're not comfortable with.
Yeah. And I think looking at, I think most art's been done before. Like, if you look at like a lot of fine artists and things like that, I think it's just how they worked. I mean, look at the classics too. If you're kind of stumped for an idea, it's been done before, as far as like lighting and like process, and I think it's just, I still look at art books, kind of like, what did they do? Like, what did Goya do? What did, and I think you just kind of look at that stuff just to kind of like, maybe not copying that, but just kind of like, oh, it's an inspiration. I think that's kind of that's been done before. Or if it's film or, whatever it is you're kind of into, it's like, just look at the good stuff. It's just,
makes sense. What struck me as I was looking at your work earlier, Dean, most of our young people, with a few exceptions, are still predominantly working with conventional, pen and paper and illustration. Some are now starting to work more digitally. What do you work on most of all? Are you still pen and paper some of the time, or mostly digital?
Mostly, I'm mostly working in like Photoshop. I came from a traditional background, but I draw. Like, I bought maybe 15 years ago, I got a Wacom Cintiq, which is just everybody knows it's like a digital screen you draw on. And that kind of just made me so I was working in the computer drawing instead of like on paper, because it was just quicker. So that's what I do. But I use mostly Photoshop for sketching stuff. I've been working with the iPad. There's a thing called Procreate, which is kind of a nice painting program. Very, very easy to use. But yeah, I don't really draw on paper anymore, sadly. And I've been doing a little bit of modeling too, with different software programs for 3D stuff, but I'm not that good at it, or some people are really good at it. So I just kind of like some gaming stuff now, like some gaming engines and things like that I've been using, but generally it's mostly Photoshop.
Okay. Do you miss it? Do you miss the smell of paint and the
yeah, I miss the quality of the line, like I think like I used to really like line work, when I was drawing. So, and I don't really use that anymore because it's just, it's not what people want to see. I think people want to see is like a mood, or it's more about the image. So, yeah, I miss paper, but I don't miss the mess. So I kind of like, it became like a big mess. So sometimes, and I think, like whenever I draw on paper, like where's the undo button? So I think it's kind of like I'm lazy now. But I think drawing on paper is the most, like I still draw on paper as well. And I think it's just the most, it's the nicest way to draw. I think it's just, it's the best way. But yeah, I can't do it professionally right now. If I got my paints out and I showed up at an office, it'd be like, what are you doing? But some people still do it, Some people still draw. Some people still watercolor, when they cut professionally.
I was going to ask you about that. So the process. So our youngsters would certainly be interested in the process. So you've got films here that you've worked on that certainly I recognised. That's one of my absolute favourites. Equalizer 2 is one of my recent most favourite films. So, but
which one is that?
2, which I really enjoyed. That was a Denzel Washington movie, wasn't it? I really I'm really interested in how much control you have in what's the dialogue between the production team and yourself, and how does that relationship work in terms of defining the actual final aesthetic of the movie?
It depends on who you're working with. Some people are very, they want to have complete control over everything. So you're kind of like basically just making their images look nice. Some would just let you go. Like say Jumanji, I was kind of given, go just kind of create cool images. And the production designer was very, he had a lot of input, but he kind of let me go. It really depends on the image. And say like Westworld, things like that, they have specific shots, like digital shots they're doing.
Right.
So it'll be like, we're doing this image, we're using this location, and we want to add these elements in there. So you can't be too crazy. You have to just make it work creatively. You're working with a bunch of people, like here's the architecture we can use, here's the vehicle we're flying. But But it's just, you're just making an image look nice. So it's more for a visual effects shot. But sometimes, like say Jumanji or other shows like that, you just kind of, they just wanted to have, what's it going to look like? You know, like they just kind of let you, you know, they really didn't even, sometimes they didn't even have a script. Wow. And like for Jumanji, like the next level, I worked with the director. So it wasn't even like a production designer. So he just kind of described what he wanted, and I just did some images, and then they pitch that to get a green lit. So sometimes you get that, you know, it really depends on the project, you know.
So nice range, nice variation.
Yeah, and sometimes it's nice to just let, like, I like when sometimes other people just want to do, like they have an idea and you just kind of make it look pretty. And then other times you just kind of, you know, you're really trying to figure it out, like conceptually, you know. So you really are doing concept work, you know. So I think it really depends on the person, the project. Sometimes they don't have a lot of people on it, so they really rely on you to come up with some cool stuff. And I think that's my job is just to, you know, make people get excited about the project. And often it's often to get money for get capital going. So like, hey, these are cool images, we're gonna make this movie. And other times it's real production work where here's what we're shooting, and it's very specific. So
what's a typical day look like then, Dean? In your professional life?
Coffee. There's coffee involved in the morning. It sometimes takes a while to get into, like you sort of go, okay, I'm going to do some art now. And sometimes, like, as you know, it's sometimes hard to just turn it on, and sometimes it doesn't turn on at all. And sometimes, like, you can sit there all staring at a screen or a paper for the entire day going, I don't know. And then you kind of hit a thing where it happens. Or sometimes it's just out of pure, you know, fear of not creating something. So, yeah. Sometimes like fear can drive you. It's like, oh, I got to get this done. Deadlines can drive you. So sometimes you just got to do it. But yeah, generally it's just like, I try and ride my bike, try and find a balance. You know, right now I'm not working in a studio, so I just kind of like, I ride a bike in the morning and have some breakfast and then try and get into it, you know. And sometimes it goes all day. Sometimes it goes later than I want to, you know. It goes like, you know, sometimes you're like, I gotta get this done. So sometimes I just work late to get it done. So it depends on you know, art doesn't happen like, it's not a 9-to-5 job. So sometimes it doesn't happen. You're trying to make it happen. You're like, sometimes you just have to walk away from it and do something else and then come back to it. You know, you kind of have to just step away.
Absolutely. So what was your professional journey then? I mean, you talked a little bit about it earlier, going to college, not wanting to. How did you get the transition from finishing your education, then ending up where you are now?
I went, like I said, I went to art college. I ended up studying illustration for advertising, and I started off. When I started working, I was kind of working in an interactive company called Interactive Company. We were all doing multimedia at the time. We were introducing computers and stuff. This new thing called Apple. But I got into more advertising, like storyboards and comp work, which were like for ads, and then did a lot of finished painting for like final paintings for ads. They used illustration. And I did newspaper work. I started working in the newspapers. I started working, like, you know, I get a piece here and there, some magazine work. And then I went out west to Vancouver, and I was in Toronto, but when I went to Vancouver, there wasn't the advertising wasn't really big, and I started getting into, there was a lot of animation happening at the time. So I got into animation, and I wasn't doing animation, I was doing like design for animation. So yes. Like background design, a little bit of character here and there, but it was just like kind of Saturday morning stuff. But I just learned how to draw really fast, you know, like how do you design something really quick with a Sharpie? So we kind of like, we were doing different shows, like there was a lot of Warner Brothers and Disney stuff at the time. And so there I met some really creative people, like really amazing artists. But I was kind of like, I think even when I was in art college, I wanted to do stuff for film, but I had no idea how to. I mean, it's like there wasn't really any way to figure out how to do it. So I think slowly I was working my way towards it. I think when I was in animation, when I was doing animation designs, I was thinking more like film. You know, I was thinking, how would I get a cool film? And sometimes it's like, that's not what we want. We just want like this cartoony thing. But I was like trying to do these elaborate, moody film sketches. You know, like here's the lighting and I think I was just gearing myself towards that. But there really wasn't a resource then. So I slowly got to film. Like now you can just go into film, right? But then there wasn't really a resource for it, or how to know it. I didn't know how to get there. So I kind of did by doing all of that, like by doing advertising and editorial work for magazines and newspapers and working in animation really helped me now. Like whenever I do something now, it's like I can bring all those things and like know how to, you know, create an image that like, you know, because of I don't come from one world, I kind of can pull from different areas to kind of figure out how to get it done.
So this is an industry, by the sound of it, that's growing, that's full of opportunities.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, it's really. I mean, right now it's also socially acceptable to go into art. I think for young people now, it's like you can tell your parents like, I want to be an artist, and their parents are like, oh, okay. Because I think even parents are more accepting of it because you can make a living doing it. You can work at a gaming, like a lot of kids get into gaming. Gaming or a lot of effects companies, like especially in the UK, there's a ton of effects companies and a lot of film work being done there. I don't know the gaming situation. I know that there's probably a lot of effects companies. So that there you get into like doing, you know, effects, visual effects for different films. I think that's kind of a way into. So I think there seems to be a lot of jobs but a lot of it's computer based, like a lot of it's 3D modeling and gaming engines and things like that. So you have to kind of learn that stuff. I mean, drawing is great, but the to get where I am, to do what I'm doing, it's kind of rare. It's like you can do it, but it's just harder. It's harder to go to this. I think going that way is probably an easier way in. Learning sort of previs for film and things like that is probably the best way to get in. Previs is mostly like moving storyboards, like kind of rough animation for setting up shots and things like that, which is a lot of films are mostly doing a lot of that now. Just almost prevising the entire film before they shoot it.
Right.
Like the Mandalorian is completely, you know, there's not even they're not really building. There's some sets, but they're not. Most of it is like it's all been pre-visualized before they shoot it. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really good. It's interesting you say about there being the growth in the industry. We still find that there's still some reluctance for young people to enter the arts, because I think you can go for safer options. Go into engineering, parents might say. Go into this, parents might.
Well, it's like architecture too. Like a lot of people go into architecture because it's like you can tell your parents like, but for me, a lot of architects end up going into film from architecture because it's just more creative. You know, like it's easier to see something built. Whereas you work in an architecture firm, sometimes it's really if you're in a large firm, it's hard to kind of be creative. And so I think a lot of people don't know what to do. So I can reassure you there's jobs for people out there. You know, it's just you have to be adaptable to the technology right now. It's really, you have to know, you really have to be like, if you draw, that's awesome. I think that helps you a lot. But I think it really comes down to, you know, the software, like the different being adaptable to the constant changing. It's just crazy right now. It's like you can't keep up. So you just have to kind of find like. One thing great about it is that there's free software out now for kids to learn. It's not, you don't have to buy anything. So there's like Blender and Unreal Engine, and there's certain software companies that like they're just kind of like offering free stuff, and they you know, basically there's tutorials and you can learn it, and that's one way to do it. You're still being creative. It's just that's what people are looking for right now.
Okay, so all these interviews we're doing, Dave, we're asking for one killer question quote to finish with. What be as honest as you want to be. What do you think the inherent value of art education might be?
The inherent value?
The inherent value of studying art for the sake of studying art.
Well, I think the world needs more artists. And, I really think that I really think that it's important to be doing what you want to do. And I think if people are happy with what they're doing, I think you'll be, I think it's just, I think there should be just more people doing art, rather than a lot of other things, because I think it'll change, I really think that if you look at history, art's really what shines through. It's not most of the other things. So I think it's really important to I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
Absolutely are. Yeah, and I feel very much the same way. It's lovely to hear that. So thank you very much.